afternoon. It's Monday, March 28th, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. The High Court decision to temporarily strike down the natural gas deal has drawn strong reactions from across the political spectrum. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the ruling seriously threatens the development of Israel's gas reserves. In a statement issued shortly after the surprising decision, Netanyahu stressed that Israel is viewed as a state with excessive judicial intervention and difficult to do business with. He added that no one should be celebrating the fact that the gas now remains in the depths of the sea and hundreds of billions of shekels will not reach the citizens of Israel. The bombshell decision to strike down the natural gas policy was announced yesterday evening. Judges explained their move, saying that the 10-year pricing freeze rule and the fact that the policy was passed without a clear final vote in the Knesset were considered unconstitutional and non-democratic. The High Court gave the government 1 year to make necessary amendments to the deal and fix contentious issues. The Prime Minister said the government will seek other ways to overcome the so-called severe damage the court ruling has caused the Israeli economy. Energy companies invested in developing the Leviathan gas project called on the cabinet to quickly come up with a mechanism for stability in order to meet the objectives of the gas framework. Supporters of the gas deal came down hard on the High Court ruling. Members of the Likud party called the decision a scandal. MK Zev Elkin said it was a grave mistake which constitutes superfluous intervention in the authority of the executive branch, stressing that the country lost big time. On the other side, opposition members welcomed the ruling. Chairman of the Economics Committee, MK Eitan Kabel of the Zionist Union, whose committee dealt with the matter, said the decision was outstanding and was a great achievement for democracy. So did Shelly Yachimovich, who is a staunch opponent of the deal. Joining me now from our Tel Aviv studio is Noam Segal, the director of the Israel Energy Forum, specializing in energy policies. Noam, thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Hello.
Noam, you've been a strong opponent of the natural gas deal for many years, and you've been warning against it, and also one of the lead petitions of the High Court. Was yesterday a happy day for you?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question. Can you lower the volume, please?
Noam, you've been an opponent of the deal. So was yesterday's decision in the Supreme Court a happy day for you?
Yes, indeed. I think it was a happy day, not just for me, but for the Israeli public and for the Israeli democracy. We've been waiting this for a long time to bring justice into Israel's energy system. We think the government has failed to form policies that will actually serve the Israeli public, and we see this court ruling as a major step of reforming Israel's energy market.
So what does the decision actually mean? It looks like it's just giving the government more time to do what they wanted to do in the first place.
Well, I think that the gas companies and the government ought to reconsider their positions. There has been tremendous changes in the global energy market. We've seen oil prices and gas prices decline globally, and I think that the Israeli government now needs to focus on how to utilize the natural gas to serve the Israeli economy. I have to remind everybody here, I don't think the audience is aware of the fine details of this gas deal, but essentially the gas companies broke Israeli laws. They disrespect the antitrust regulations, the law, the oil law, and I think that what the court has essentially said, well, we will not approve this deal. The law has to be preserved. We have to protect the law.
How do you explain Netanyahu's steadfastness to go forward with this deal all the time? Why is he pushing so hard?
This is one of the major questions, and that have been debated. Why Netanyahu personally is taking this deal to such an extent? In my personal view, this extends beyond gas. I think that Netanyahu is seeking a new kind of power system, power relations between the foundations of power and democracy, the Supreme Court, the government, and the Knesset. And I think that Netanyahu is trying to rearrange the structure of government to provide himself more power as prime minister. And I think that the gas deal was kind of a test case. During the process, he has done several things that indicate that he's completely ignored the Knesset. Members of Knesset were actually asked to vote on the gas deal without even seeing what the gas deal is. He has fired three quite senior regulators, and I think that what the Supreme Court has said, well, this is not just about gas, this is also about democracy. We have to protect democracy. This is actually, you can read that in between the lines and even in the court's ruling.
You know, in the Prime Minister's statement, he said that this decision will keep hundreds of billions of shekels in the ground and prevent it from coming to the hands of Israel citizens. Is he fear-mongering? What does he mean by that?
I think that there has been a lot of rhetoric. You know, the government, the Prime Minister has been saying that Israel would receive billions of shekels from this gas deal. But if, you know, most people don't check the numbers, and we have, and we think that the Israeli economy will only benefit from the gas deal. If the gas deal would have gone through, the government, the economy would lose several billions of dollars. And consumers, Israeli consumers, are now paying some of the highest prices for natural gas. Natural gas in the United States costs something like $2 for an energy unit. In Israel, they pay $6. And it makes no sense that importing gas from the US is cheaper than locally produced gas. So I think that overall the Israeli economy will benefit from this. The gas should serve the Israeli economy, should serve the industry, should serve people. And I disagree with the Prime Minister, and I think that also the figures, he has to present the real figures and not just say, you know, we are losing billions of dollars.
No, the Noble Energy insists that the ruling is going to imperil the gas development. What do you say to that?
Noble Energy has received a lease, a franchise. They are obliged to develop the gas fields. They have 2 years until the next milestone. And I think they have to respect that. If they do not wish to develop Israel's natural gas fields, they are always welcome to give the franchise back to the government. I think that Noble Energy is currently losing. Its market share value has sliced by more than 50%. In fact, Israel is its only profit-making, large profit-making center in the world, and I think that Noble is reconsidering its position. They have tried what they could have achieved, and now that I think that they will rearrange their position and actually focus, I hope, on the local market.
No, we don't have anyone from the government in the studio, but some people have suggested that you and other opponents to the gas deal like you are motivated by political interests. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I must say that I am not a political person. I must say that there have been people from, I've been to the streets, I've been to demonstrations. There are people from all parties, even appealing to the Supreme Court several times. I think that trying to picture this as a rightish or leftish issue, as a partisan issue, I think this is, again, misconception and some kind of rhetoric. This is the people demanding, has nothing to do with politics, this is the people demanding justice and demanding a fair share of the natural treasures that belong to the people, to the people of Israel.
Well, Noam Segal of the Israel Energy Forum, thanks so much for joining IBA News today.
Thank you.
Prime Minister and Acting Foreign Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has decided to appoint former Yesha Council head Danny Dayan as the next Consul General to New York. Dayan will replace Foreign Ministry diplomat Ido Aharoni, who will be soon completing his term. The Argentinian-born Dayan was originally slated to serve as the ambassador to Brazil, but his appointment was rejected by Brazilia's government due to his role in settlement movement. Netanyahu had initially vowed to stand firm on Dayan's nomination, saying he would not cave in to international dictates by other governments who deemed settlements as illegal. But in a brief statement today, the Prime Minister urged that Dayan would instead fill the New York Post, which focuses on Israeli outreach to American Jews and business sectors. Dayan insisted that Israel did not fold to Brazilia's pressure, saying that those who don't want him there will now get him in New York, the capital of the world. Still no ruling on whether former president and convicted rapist Moshe Katsav will be granted early release from prison, cutting his jail term by 1/3. Katsav and his attorneys appeared yesterday before the prison parole board to discuss his plea for a shortened sentence. The committee convened for more than 10 hours in a closed-door session and said it will announce its final decision next week on the 3rd of April. Katsav has so far served approximately 2/3 of the 7-year sentence he received for his conviction on several accounts of rape and other sexual offenses. His defense team says that Katsav continues to maintain his innocence and shows no sign of remorse. He claims he never harmed any woman and is not prepared to confess to something he did not do. Israel today called on all of its citizens in Turkey to leave that country as soon as possible. The upgraded travel warning predicts follow-up attacks to the March 19 suicide bombing in Istanbul, in which 3 Israeli tourists and 1 Iranian were killed. In the wake of that attack, the Counterterrorism Bureau had issued a stricter travel advisory, but today it raised it to level 2, signifying what it called a concrete threat that Islamic State or similar groups are seeking to attack Turkish tourist attractions. The Bureau did not elaborate what promoted the alert. Yesterday, the Turkish authorities issued a warning against terror targets targeting Christian and Jews in the country in the coming days. In Syria, Islamic State continues to suffer defeats against the Syrian government forces. Aided by Russian warplanes and pro-Assad troops succeeded in recapturing the city of Tadmor, also known as Palmyra, which ISIS took exactly 1 year ago. It's the victory picture that Assad has coveted for some time. The Syrian flag flying over the ancient fortress of Tadmor. Syrian forces took advantage of the ceasefire and rushed troops to the city, sitting on a strategic road linking Damascus to the eastern part of the country. Reports from Syria say that the intensive fighting left hundreds of casualties, but the ancient city and its ruins are now back in Syrian government hands. The Roman ruins were severely damaged by Islamic State. In the world-class museum, it was a site of utter destruction, 2,000-year-old statues shattered on the floor. The Assad regime lost no time in exploiting the victory, saying that they will restore the city, once a jewel of Syria's tourist trade, if and when tourists ever return. In just 3 months, Israel is to receive its first stealth fighter jet, the F-35, from the United States. But last week, a Chinese businessman was convicted of industrial espionage after he stole data on the warplane. Su Bin is apparently the mastermind of one of the biggest computer conspiracies to steal blueprints of Pentagon military jets. He pleaded guilty to charges he hacked into computers in the United States and steal classified data on the F-35 fighter jet. He translated these documents into Chinese about the jet's performance.
It can come in, as the U.S. has stealth fighters, stealth bombers, come in a full-up radar environment and not be detected.
Last year, China revealed its J-31 stealth warplane, amazingly similar to the F-35. Ben reached a plea agreement last week in California for hacking into defense contractors' computers and faces 5 years of prison. China's foreign ministry denied all contact with Ben, but Ben, who has lived in Canada, is also suspected of stealing data on the F-22 fighter jet and the plans of the C-17 Galaxy.
It's been pretty clear, and I think the U.S. government has been pretty clear in making its claims, which I have no reason to doubt, that Chinese hackers have been targeting defense contractors, U.S. government facilities, and others.
For Israel, it's worrying, since in just 3 months' time, the Air Force is expected to take delivery of its first F-35 stealth fighter. The question is, do the Chinese know now the secrets of the warplane? Probably yes. Did you know that camel milk has a lot of healing benefits? Well, one Bedouin woman from the Negev realized its great assets and turned it into a successful business. IBA's Efrat Patat has the story.
Maryam Aborkik is an Israeli Bedouin woman living in the southern Negev village of Tel Sheva. She grew up experiencing the benefits of camel milk and knowing how good it was for the human body. Deep down, she always had it in her heart to one day open up a business selling beauty products that were made from camel milk and other natural ingredients found in the desert. And so she did. After studying marketing in London, she came back to Israel and fulfilled her dream. She gets the camel milk from local farmers and friends, something that's not quite easy because a camel must smell its newborn baby in order to produce milk. In the space that was once an animal shed, she now has a laboratory, a storage house for raw materials, a kitchen, a storefront, and a lecture room, including a welcome area for visitors who come to learn more about Bedouin healing and her products. Sometimes visitors pitch in to help make these handmade products, and her business is rapidly becoming a popular spot for tourists.
I think that what Maryam is doing is very important because it's connecting tradition to modern time. And I think that though we all urge to develop and to change for modern life, we should remember there is a lot of wisdom and there is a lot of tradition that we could seek lots of knowledge from.
Among her many challenges, Aburkik says her only real problems were prejudices from inside her own community, that a woman could not have a business. And that's a false notion she's successfully proving doesn't exist.
And local money matters. Shares were up late in the late afternoon trading in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, while the shekel was strengthened in foreign currency trading. Here are the late afternoon numbers. Turning to the weather now, and the IBA weather team says the rain will lighten up, but there will still be scattered showers tomorrow. Temperatures will remain the same. Here's a look at the expected highs and lows at home and abroad for the next 24 hours. That's our broadcast of IBA News for today. Please join us again tomorrow when Laura Cornfield will be here to bring you the latest breaking news from Israel. I'm Ari O'Sullivan, wishing you a good evening and shalom from Jerusalem.